What's up, Internet? My name is Michael Cook, this is Blue Giant Media, and we're here to connect through gaming. Today we're going to take a look at Lanterns the Dice Game by Chris Bryant and published by Renegade Game Studios. We're going to get a quick rules overview before we come back, and I'll let you know what I like, what I don't like, and who I think may or may not like Lanterns the Dice Game. Here I have Lanterns dice set up for 2 players. You're going to have 4 different polyominoes. One is a small one, which is made up of 3 cubes, 2 that are made up of 4 cubes, and 1 that's made up of 5 cubes. You're going to take these and you're going to either have them on their A or B side. I've got them all on the A side. You can do all A, all B, or you can mix and match. Each player's got a little reference card, which is similar to what you had in the original Lanterns. And then you've got these sheets, which are labeled A, B, C, or D. What we're going to do then is we're going to, since it's a 2-player game, we're going to cross off this section here that shows 3 players. So that way we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so what you're going to do on your turn, and we're just going to go ahead and say that this is the first player, we're going to go ahead and take this right here, and we're going to either roll the dice into it, or we're going to just give it a shake. Once you have that, you're going to turn this to face, so this player would decide like, okay, they want to get that color. And whatever's facing your opponents, that's what they're going to get. So for this illustration, I'm just going to go, this is what this player is going to get, and this is what this player is going to get. You're also going to get, on your turn, if you are the active player, you're going to get one of these to fill in based off of the round. So in the first round, this player is going to get to fill in a yellow. So I can look around and see which one of those I want to fill in. So I might decide that I want to go like this because I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to fill that in here. And I'm going to take the white so that I can fill in here. Because whenever I fill in a space that surrounds a platform, that means I get to choose one other space on one of the orthogonally adjacent, and I get to fill in one of those triangles. So I could go ahead and say that I'm going to fill in, this right here as a bonus. Now, since I took that, over here my opponent is going to get the yellow, but then they are not going to get to take their bonus right here because they're not the active player. So they'll just go ahead and take a yellow. So they can look at, and maybe they decide that they want to be able to get 2 yellows. They could use a favor, which everybody starts with 1. So I could use one of them by crossing that off to show that I'm using it, and this says that I get to shade 1 additional area matching the die, so I could shade 2 areas with yellow. So maybe I fill in this one right here, and then in anticipation of getting a green, maybe I decide that I want to fill in, maybe I'll fill in that one right there. Okay, then it's going to rotate over so that this is going to be the active player. They'll go ahead and do the same thing, and then they get to look, they're going to get their green now, and then they're also going to get some of these. So let's see, if we get a green, then maybe we would like to match it with this red right here, because then we can kind of do the same thing that our opponent did. We got a red and a green, and that allows us to fill in 1 bonus space, which maybe we just go ahead and say we'll take that. So then our opponent, we could decide then, since we want a red, to either take this and give our opponent purple, and take this and give our opponent green. So then we might look over here, and at this point it's early on, we don't really have a lot of information to go off, but you can kind of decide what it is that you want your opponent to actually get. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to give them a green. It'll come over here, and let's see, maybe we will go right here. All right, then, so that ends the first round. This round I'm going to get a red right here, so I can look around and say, maybe I want to go like that, and I'm going to go ahead and put this green here, so then I'm going to take that red to fill in this, and that green to fill in here, which that is going to allow me to then fill in that space right there. Now, whenever you fill in a space with one of those, that's when you get to go and fill in another one of those Emperor's Gifts, which then, I could use 2 of them to shade 1 area of a color not shown on any of these dice. Or I could save up 3 of them to shade areas matching each of the other 3 dice. So I took the green, I would get to take all 3 of the other ones and fill them all in at once. All right, then this player is going to have a red, so they'll decide that maybe they want to go like that. All right, then we'll do it all. Let me go through one more time here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this right there, which lets me get another one of those. That was the white piece right there that I just took. And then let's go ahead and take this green and put it there. That's going to give my opponent a green also. And at this point, what I think I like to do is fill in this green space right here. And then I guess I have to be active player to do that. So I guess I'll simulate one more round. All right, so we've done all that. Let's just force that. So let's say I want to go like this. So I'm going to get a white right here, and I'll just go ahead and put my blue over here, which would give me a third one of those. And I would then use, maybe I can use all three of those. So I'll go ahead and cross those out and use the other three colors. I'm going to get a blue, yellow, and purple. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use the yellow and purple there, and the blue over here. And since I'm the active player, I can take this. Now that I've filled in a group of squares that is the same size as this, I get to take the topmost one and cover that up. So you'll see the actions that affect both players are shading the lanterns, and if you perform one Emperor action. The launching a fireworks style, that's something that can only be done if you're the active player. And then this player would have a yellow at their disposal, so they could go like this, which would mean on their next turn they could go ahead and take that and cover up there when they're the active player. At the end of the game, what you're going to be doing is you're going to look at the total of all the fireworks tiles that you've got and add up the points on them, like this one's 5 points. Then you're going to look at your second largest area filled in. So right now I've got this group of 4 and this group of 2, almost 3. So far I would have 2 points to put there. And then if you have filled in the 4 spaces that are orthogonally adjacent to the boat, then you're going to get 4 points for each of them. But if you happen to fill in the boat, then it's no longer worth those 4 points. It just has to be a boat that is surrounded by basically lanterns. And then you can add all that up, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game will be the winner. Now that you have a good idea of how to play Lanterns the Dice game, I want to let you know what I like about the game. First off, I like this trend of dice games. So I'm enjoying them. I'm enjoying the kind of different aspects of them. I like the combination now of this kind of like Tetris aspect. I think there's a couple games that are starting to do that. Uwe Rosenberg has put out, I think, a couple of them now, or just released a second one or so, possibly 3. But I think that that's interesting. I like the different directions that you can go within this genre that people are starting to explore. I like the different fireworks, how you have different shapes that you can put on there, which kind of changes up the game. And I like that there's 4 different sheets that you can work with. The dice are nice. The tray is a tray. It gives you a whole bunch of sheets. And that's nice. It's a fun game. I really enjoy working with the platforms, getting those bonus actions and trying to chain them together, using your gifts to try and get more spaces covered up, just be a little bit more efficient with that. But moving to the things that I don't like, I feel like I want more variety in the actual sheet itself, not just in the order of the bonuses that I get, but the actual layout of the sheet doesn't change. And that means that there's some areas of the board of my sheet that I always find myself focusing on, because it would just be dumb not to. Like, why would I not want to go for this area that gives me a platform that is going to help me with the, get the gift that's right next to it, which also helps me, contribute towards surrounding one of these boats. Why would I not do that? I'm going to do that every game. Scoring your second largest area, nice, keeps you from just making a big old chunk. Cool. Sometimes it can be interesting trying to figure out where you want to divide, but you still, again, have a pretty obvious, set of regions that you want to go for, in my opinion. It feels like I'm always going to get this cluster that's kind of around these two boats and this cluster that's around these two boats, and that's what I'm going to go for. So it's just a little bit derivative in that aspect. Predictable. So if the actual sheets themselves were varied, that would be great. I can understand how there might be some that just end up being more advantageous though, so I can see the other side of it, but I still find myself thinking, okay, well, I'm doing the same thing every time. Now, if they had a couple different layouts and they had them laminated, and then within those different layouts, then they had the different order of round bonuses. Okay, well now maybe that would work. Besides the fact that I like laminated sheets for this type of thing anyway. I'm grateful that they gave us all these sheets, but I like to be able to write and erase. Railroad ink does that, and I love that. So I think that it could be in an even smaller box. I think it's kind of dictated right now by the size of the sheet, and that's why the tray is the size that it is. But ultimately, I mean, the tray could be whatever. It could be even smaller, and it could be like Boggles. It could be like Boggle. It could just be like a little cube that you shake, and then set it down on one of its 6 sides. Boom. Whatever layout it happens to fall into, sweet, there it is. That could work. Then it would need like kind of foldable sheets, which then might lend itself towards Railroad Ink's setup so that it fits in a smaller box. I don't know, spitballing here, but to me, it's not a big game, but it feels to me like it should be like the size of a Flux, or Coloretto, or No Thanks, or Red 7. It should be a small little packaging because it's a small feeling game. Yeah, it feels like it's even smaller than it is. And it's a relatively small box. So that's really picking nits there. So let's move on to who I think is gonna like this game. If you are a fan of lanterns, if you're a fan of that, I choose something, but I'm going to give everybody else at the table a benefit as well. I think you're gonna enjoy this because I think that's one of the key aspects that made lanterns really interesting, is choosing what you want, but at the same time trying to see how that's going to benefit everybody else and weigh that against pluses and minuses. So I think that that's pretty interesting. If you like that kind of Tetris-y thing, if you enjoy balance, because you can't dump everything into one large area or you're going to lose a lot of points there. If you like games that are relatively tight because it's a low scoring game, then I think that this is going to fit what you want. It's pretty, and I mean, it's fun. It's a good light game. I think it's a little bit heavier as far as some roll and writes go, though. For a first roll and write, it might be, there's probably other ones out there that are more accessible. Not that this is like, oh, it's hard, but it's not the easiest one on the market. Not to say it's hard, but it's more than some. Okay, I'm being very vague. But people who are not going to like the game, if you don't like low scoring affairs, if you don't like Tetris, then you don't necessarily have to fit the pieces in, but there's some people who are kind of right now, I feel like, in a pushback against some of this polyomino stuff, because there's been a decent amount of it coming out, and I'm starting to see some people be like, oh, another one. So maybe you're one of those countercultural people. Now here's one that I think is interesting though. Lanterns, one of the coolest things is you could look and see what was going to be facing somebody, and it's possible that that color wouldn't be available anymore. And that would mean that your opponent, you could set things out there that means your opponent gets nothing. And you could also even set it in such a way that you're going to get multiple. In this one, your opponents will get something. It may not be really beneficial for them, so rather than dealing with scarcity, you're dealing with actually being able to fill the areas that they want. So it's a difference there. I kind of prefer, in a way, being able to look and think, all right, there aren't any more of this color. That means that I can safely put this down and not benefit my opponent that well. I think that's really interesting. But I can see how the other side is, well, now I know I'm never going to completely screw anybody, but I may not, I may be giving them a color that's just, it's going to be slow going for them. It's not going to be as beneficial. To me, it lacks a little bit of that. As far as which one of the two I prefer, I'm not quite sure. I kind of hoped that this would be better than Lanterns, because that Lanterns is kind of like on my shelf for, I enjoy it, but I think it's gonna go. And I was hoping that this would kind of improve upon it, and in a way, it's just different. To me, it doesn't necessarily move higher or lower, it's just a little bit different. The flavor is there, the feel is mostly there. It feels a little bit fiddly to me. I think I might still give the edge to Lanterns. Although this was enjoyable and I would happily play it again, it's just, I think it's just missed. It's missing something. And I think it's the ability to have some replayability and to better factor in what it is that you're benefiting your opponent so that you can just not give them anything. I liked that part of Lanterns. So that's my opinion, and I stand by it. Alright, let's go ahead and take the spotlight off of Chris Bryan's Lanterns the Dice Game by Renegade Game Studios. If you want to know more about this game, take a look in the description section where you can find a link to my unboxing, my setup and gameplay sample, as well as a link to macronovagames.com where you can buy Lanterns the Dice Game and hundreds of other great games. Until next time, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what you see, and let me know in the comments section below if you have any feedback, comments, corrections, accusations. You're wrong! I'd love to connect with you. And, as always, have a wonderful day.